Oh, there goes rain again.
Did you see the lightning?
Morning. Just wanted to acknowledge that Innisfil is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. The Rotary Club of Innisfil acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the first peoples of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe people of Bausilei First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. We thank them for generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The Rotary Club of Innisfil acknowledges the forced sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. May all rise for the singing of the hymn. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all life's commands. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Our first meeting of April, so it's maternal and child health month. So Barb, I saw you put a post on our Facebook post, link about that.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Sorry, maternal and child health.
Oh, it's just a picture.
Yeah, you put that on there. I've also got a new banner on our website for it, but yeah, we will certainly find ways to celebrate that particular month. Mission. But Al, did you want to start us off so we can get some good news into that?
Good morning, President Tim. Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. Good morning. Colin, good morning. A warm welcome from our Rotary Club to you.
He's sorry about that.
Nice to be here.
And Colin, you're going to be properly introduced in just a few moments, okay?
That's great, thanks.
All right, Katie, good morning. Ann, good morning.
And Joanne.
Joanne, good morning. Okay, that's all the good mornings out of the way. Now, so yesterday was great because for the first time this season, all three Toronto teams, the Leafs, the Blue Jays, and the Raptors, they all won. Isn't that great news? Because it hasn't been going very well for the Blue Jays. I know the other day I saw it was the anniversary of the first cell phone call. 50 years ago, the very first cell phone call. And the cell phone the fellow was using was like this, with huge, but it was a cell phone, and it was the first call 50 years ago.
Who did you call?
He didn't call me, but isn't it amazing to think that from that very first cell phone call, we're walking around with this little thing that's just like a wallet in our pocket. It's a computer. It's a computer.
And we can't live without it.
And we can't live without it. And there's millions and billions of them all over the world. So that's amazing. And I remember back on the Toronto Police Department when we got our first computer. It was in a building in downtown Toronto, and it was the better part of a city block. One computer. It was huge, and there was hundreds of people running the thing. And now here we are walking around with a little computer.
Here's the first iPhone.
First iPhone. There we go.
The second
Blackberry. Second Blackberry. Okay. And don't tell me how you use this thing, because I get phone calls, I make phone calls, and that's it. I started to text, but I'm not good enough to say I can do it yet, okay? But it's amazing this thing, isn't it?
You can speak to it, Al, to do a text too.
What's that?
You can speak to it, and do a text.
Teach me. Okay. So March the 22nd was Sue's 77th birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're the same age until April 3rd. So for 22 days, we were both 77, and I turned 78 on April the 3rd.
Happy birthday.
And you know what? I 78 years, and where has it all gone? I can't believe I'm 78. I keep on thinking, in 2 years I'll be 80. Now 80 to me, oh my God, when I was a kid, 50 was old, okay? But now I'm 78 and I'm thinking, wow, in 2 years I'll be 80, then I'll be old. I'll be old when I'm 80. And that's only 2 years, that's only 2 years away.
Will you
Isn't that
retire?
amazing?
Retire at 80?
No, I can't.
Yeah, my dad won't either.
Pension isn't enough.
So that's all I have for you this morning. But again, Colin, a very warm welcome from our club to you, and we're looking forward to hearing from you, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thanks, Tim.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, Al, you're thinking about these phones and these days, if the phones of then are like the phones now, everybody would be walking around like this all the time. You're looking at your phone, you destroy your back and all kinds of things.
Why not a shoulder strap? Come on. Piece of a shoulder strap.
50 years ago, you needed a mule to carry your phone around.
Yeah. All right, so
Anne is going to introduce.
yes, I was going to pass things over to Anne. Introduce
Okay.
our speaker, please.
Thank you, President Tim. Okay, so welcome, Colin. A brief bio about Colin before he gives us his talk. He is a retired educator. He was a director of the Near North District School Board. He has been involved with Rotary for more than 40 years, including work with Easter Seals camps and as a Rotary Scholar, University of Wales, 1976 to 77. He has been a member of 4 Rotary clubs in Districts 7010 and 7040. He is the past chair, Global Grant Scholarships and Peace Fellowships for 7010. He is married to Joan, daughter Rhiannon, who is a professor at Canadore College, and son Ryan, who is York Region District School Board French teacher, currently on leave to travel the world and have some fun working in television. So welcome, Colin.
Thanks very much. I hope the technology holds. As they say, I've become fairly skilled, maybe more skilled than I wanted to in technology through various projects, mainly Rotary. If you see me glance every once in a while to my right, I guess it is, my left, I guess. I'm looking out the window. We live on Lake Nipissing, and we have a real storm going here. So I commend you folks for being out there. Just moving from my bedroom to our sunroom area and home office was a bit of a deal. Before I go to the slideshow, and I hope that works, sometimes when we do it at our club, and I really picked up several good ideas just listening to your opening today. So do that, and your land acknowledgement was so genuine and so important. So I appreciated that as well. I'm going to just ask a couple of questions. If I were doing this in a workshop, we'd do a little activity or that. But let's just start off by asking people to raise their hand. Those on virtually can raise hand with a little icon. But how many people have some knowledge about stem cells? Just raise your hand. Okay, I'm going to look at that screen. Yeah. How many know somebody who's had a stem cell transplant? Okay, fewer. Doesn't surprise me because there are only probably 2,000 to 3,000 a year in Canada, and 3,000 would definitely be on the upside. Okay, I'm going to go to, that gives me a little understanding, and I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully all will go well. And somebody can interrupt me if the slides are not advancing, please let me know, okay? Okay. Okay, do you see something in front of you? I'm just going to leave it on with it in this format because I think it's large enough to do so. Because sometimes when I go to the full screen, I lose it completely. So I'm going to talk about stem cells, and indeed, stem cells for life is the tagline of Canadian Blood Services. And while this is a story about me, it's really a great story about others and their involvement with stem cells, and indeed a story of the support I received from my Rotary Club when I went through my travail with cancer and then a stem cell transplant. So we'll hopefully change the slide. Going to pass that one. Okay. So there are several kinds of stem cells, and indeed that's confusing for many people. There are, I think, 5 or 6, depending which sort of technical group of terms you use, and they're in parts of many organs and tissues in our human body. I'll be talking in the main about blood stem cells, and they're constantly dividing and changing into the different types of blood in order to replace old and damaged blood cells. And blood cells are it's like a factory in your bone marrow. They're created there, and then they travel out into your bloodstream. In my case, and I'll talk more about this, that wasn't going very well, and I needed to replace that engine in my marrow. Most blood cells exist in the bone marrow, but at any given time, there's a small number of blood cells that are circulating in the bloodstream. So you were talking there briefly before about cell phones. Well, stem cells is considered to be one of the more important medical discoveries of this past century, or years, I guess we could put it that way, and even compared to the discovery of antibiotics. So it goes back to the 50s and 60s, and research has played a huge role in this. And indeed, as the research grows, there is a greater need for stem cell transplants because there's more ways that they can help out. They've been used effectively for the last 40 years, and they're commonly known as a bone marrow transplant, but indeed it's stem cells from the bone marrow, and as I'll explain from other areas. And in general terms, they're often used in other kinds of medicine, not just with blood cancers and things of that nature. So as I mentioned, our bodies are constantly manufacturing stem cells. They can self-renew and divide themselves over long periods of time. Blood stem cells can be used to treat over 8 diseases and disorders. The biggest area is blood cancers, and indeed acute myeloid leukemia and lymphomas are up at the top of that list. I have pie charts and things that would show that and demonstrate how great an impact it has on those cancers. But they're also used for bone marrow deficiency diseases, aplastic anemia, and inherited immune system and metabolic disorders. They're moving into the area of treatment for lupus, for example. Overall, stem cells have potential for treating Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, different kinds of arthritis. And indeed, I was connected to the Ottawa Hospital, and they've done some world-class work in the use for multiple sclerosis. So initiative is a club initiative. It's not just about my story, and indeed our club has been on board working to increase public awareness and understanding about what stem cells are, and here we are today to increase the number of people registered in the stem cell registry in Canada. So I'm going to pause on that one. There are 440,000 people on the registry in Canada. When I was fortunate enough to qualify for a stem cell transplant, there was no match for me in Canada. So I should describe this in this way as well. When I say that no match, most people think it's you receive stem cell donation from a sibling. Actually, that's a very small number of people where that's achieved. Even when you have a brother or sister, it's about 25% chance you'll get a match. So you have to go to the unrelated donor. And that was the story for me. And we wanted to create a social media footprint that would support and assist the achievement of those first two goals. And we've learned a lot in doing that. We formed a committee that was past District Governor Bill Hagward's on it. One of my Rotary colleagues is on it. But we also reached out to people, most of whom had an affiliation with Rotary, but not all in our town, in different places in Ontario. But we tried to have people who were in the 17 to 35 demographic on our committee, because that's very critical to making this work and indeed understanding social media. Oops. Okay, so what are we looking at? More Canadian lives would be saved if the stem cell registry were larger. There's approximately 900 people in Canada waiting right now for a stem cell transplant that would impact their lives greatly. And indeed, I should mention that although I received my stem cell at 70, I was very fortunate to receive sort of the top end, I guess, in age terms to qualify. This is something that's important for infants right through people of my age and everything in between. Diversity is a huge thing as far as the donor base. So I was speaking to a student at Nipissing University last week, and you know, in a useful way, I said to him, I couldn't donate to you and you couldn't donate to me because he was Black and I was white. So it's really important to grow that base so that people of different ethnicities have an equal chance to get a transplant. There are twice as many women compared to men have registered to be potential donors. And that's, I think, didn't surprise me, because typically I think, really generalizing, but women step up to do some of the causes, and guys got to get on board here. And I've learned that actually male stem cells generally are more robust and helpful in the transplant. Transplants are more successful with donors who are in the 17 to 35-year-old age demographic. So we need people to sign up. Indeed, you have to be 17 to 35 to even register, even though you can donate up to 50 years of age. So who's this celebrity? Does anybody know? You can just recognize that face.
Robin
Okay.
Roberts.
Robin Roberts, yes. Robin Roberts is the anchor for ABC's Good Morning America show, and she had a transplant 10 years ago. Actually, she's had two kinds of cancer. She had breast cancer earlier on, and then 10 years ago, just say 11 years ago, she was diagnosed with something called myelodysplastic syndrome, which is a kind of blood cancer. And she went through this, and I'm not going to go into depth of it. The treatment is different for everybody. It goes easier for some than others. I was fortunate to be on the easier side. I didn't have any huge issues like graft versus host disease, which is when your body fights back against the grafted transplant, the stem cells. She was her mother who coined this phrase, and I've taken it to heart. Robin Roberts decided to make her message, and indeed to go out and promote the need for stem cell donations. So she's a spokesperson and major influencer for the Be a Match organization in the United States to increase the donor registry. So who's this grateful recipient? So that's me on the left, and actually that's on day 0. So after doing treatment for leukemia, I went off to Ottawa. You have to spend 4 months at one of 3 transplant centers in Ontario that do what they call allogenic transplants. That's where you receive from another donor. And those are indeed the stem cells just hanging on the bag there. I'll just throw in this little bit of humor, because you had to keep a good attitude in the humor. I was told that after I received the stem cells, I would smell like cream corn, and although I couldn't smell it, my wife could. And there I am last summer at Marywood Camp. Joe and I did our first getaway. We haven't gone too far, with all this took place during COVID, and then did a little travel. So you see me there. I lost 45 pounds and through all this process, and I've gained back some, which is a good thing. I'm healthier, but I'm not going to put all of it on because I think that's one of the real upsides of this in an odd way. So my backstory, I've had 3 different kinds of blood cancer over 12 years. I've had polycythemia vera, PV, which is a situation where you have too many red cells, and that was treated by frequent phlebotomies. Myelodysplastic syndromes, I changed into that, which is known colloquially as simmering leukemia. In my case, I had issues with neutropenia, which meant I had low blood counts when it came to neutrophils, which are the ones that fight infection. And then things started to go south, as the expression goes. And actually about 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, which is one that gets you to the hospital here in a hurry. So I went off to Health Sciences North, and over a period of about 3 months, I spent 65 days as an inpatient. That achieved remission, and I qualified for a stem cell transplant procedure at the Ottawa Hospital. As I say, it was one of 3 centers in. And so off we went to Ottawa. They kindly put us up in an apartment on the one of the hospital campuses, and all my treatment was done as an outpatient. So the notion of the boy in the bubble doesn't always play out. Preference is to do it as outpatient, and unless you take a turn for the worse, and then you go to hospital. So after coming back from this, the first thing I started to do was to say a lot of thank yous, and I did some education among friends and with Rotary around my, as I called, job and my journey and my job dealing with this. And it came to a point after that I thought, well, we've got to do something about this. So we started up this project. This happens to be one of our posters, and I'll mention that most of the creative work, if that's the right term, we've done allows for the Rotary logo to be exchanged for any other club's logo, should some other club want to do some work in this regard. So a donor match, there's 2 ways to collect. It's really important. I gave this speech over and over last week at the swabbing we had. It's not all about getting it. It doesn't come from your spine, which may have happened in the past, but that's not where it comes. For the most part, 90% of the time it's collected from circulating blood. So you go to a center, and it's like giving blood or plasma, or probably more giving plasma, because you're hooked up to an apheresis machine which spins out like a centrifuge the stem cells that are collected and then frozen, and then they're available for the transplant recipient. About 10% is, and it's far less common to do this, is done by, it's a little intrusive, it's taken from your pelvic bone. I've had 7 bone marrow biopsies over my career, and that's not that comfortable. In this case, probably the worst that would happen is you feel like you've fallen on your tailbone, and it's a bit uncomfortable for a couple of days. But when you think that donation, if you're kind enough to make it, could save a life, it's maybe a small thing to do. So what do I say next steps? We're actually immersed in these. We're growing our social media, so there are a lot of things going on that way. Presentations to groups, here we are today, and emphasize the need to reach the 17 to 35-year-old demographic. Events like swab-ins and information booths, connections with provincial and national organizations in order to grow this, create and share material. And we're working with Nipissing University to help develop some high school curriculum that would engage students ahead of the age requirement, so that perhaps they would become donors in the future. As an aside, in Germany, and that's where I believe my donor came, is from, when you're 16, somebody will correct me on this, but I think for illustration purposes, when you're 16, you get a driver's license. When 17, maybe you can vote or perhaps drink or whatever. At 18, you sign up to be a donor. So it's part of the, well, an obligation, there's sort of an expectation you'll do that. So there's their stem cell registry in Germany is really quite large. And indeed, they're all linked from around the world, which is good. So last week, as an example, we had a swab-in. So we had 3 of them at Nipissing, Canada, or one of the campuses is a combined campus. And then we were at 2 other locations. And we were thrilled that we got over 170 people signed up in 2 days, which is statistically a really good drive. And we did that. And in this picture, you can see 2 young Black women, their sisters actually. It was familial transplant in that case, but I wanted to illustrate the diversity, so we used that slide. Got a lot of help. The university and the college were both good about doing a material like the slide you see now. So there's the actual swab part. Well, you see 2 parts of there. So first thing you do, and the students, of course, are skilled and can do it faster than I can. The swab-in is you scan a code, and then there's a fellow sitting there on the right, and he's registering. Takes a few minutes to do that. You register online right there. And then we hand you a swab-in kit and a swab kit. You can see it's in the lap of the young lady there, and she's swabbing her cheek. We tried to emphasize, no, you're not going to poke it up your nose like COVID. Could that be a bit off-putting? So that day was very successful. It was a terrific time for me. It was yet another emotional event. When I got my stem cells, it would be apparent to you that if you've been in that kind of situation, that and you had a life-saving thing like this, that you're thinking about your family, your friends. But I thought greatly about the people who were willing to donate. So I spent a lot of time talking to all the donors about how much this meant and could mean to people. Having said that, only about 1/700 donors will ever get called. It's just that much of a needle in the haystack. You can also do this in person. You do it in person, but you can also do it online, when the swab kit gets sent out to you. Another one of our slides there on the left, and this one features a First Nations woman who worked in an Indigenous center and started up a registration event. She decided, well, I'm there, might as well register myself. And not too long after, she got the call. She was a match for somebody. Great news. The underground equipment you see on the right is, we're in the north, so I have a few contacts in the mining industry, and we're looking at ways to, as good Rotarians do, to make connections with that sectors, because there are a lot of people in the age demographic who work in the mining field, and indeed there's a lot of work in the mining community with Indigenous communities. So there's a possibility of growing the registration that way. It's a lot about storytelling, and we're almost finished here, and I'll keep it brief. The young woman on the left is one of my key connectors, persons with Canadian Blood Service, Manit Mann. You can Google her name and you'll get the whole story, but she's received 2 stem cell transplants. They don't always take, and that was the case. She had leukemia when she was a university student at Lakehead. She had to indeed receive treatment. She got her stem cell, that didn't work. She went back through that cycle of treatment again, and then she's now 5 years cancer-free and beyond her receiving her transplant. The picture on the right is her on a very happy day when her boyfriend when she first was diagnosed, but now her husband. And just a great story. Okay, so I'll send all the slides along to you, but when you get them, you'll see that there's some things that might be helpful on this page. So we're really hopeful that there's willingness to share this. So maybe your club would be interested in doing a simple thing like that, or perhaps at some point hosting a cheek swabbing event. We have it sort of pretty well organized for anybody who wants to run with, and indeed the Canadian Blood Services has a kit in a box approach. I would commend the whiteboard video about stem cells there. It takes about 3 minutes to click on that one and read and see it. It's great. We have something on our page, and we've set up a discrete URL, blood.ca/Rotary, which takes you directly to the information page about stem cells and registration. And we set it up not Nipissing Rotary, but Rotary in general, should any club want to use that. And indeed, there's a QR code. That's my stem cell email. I have another email, of course, but just if you want to get through directly, and there's a phone there. So there's the QR code. So I know it's been used at least 50 times, I'm sure, because I've used it myself. Anyway, just kidding. So with that, that's the end of my speaking to you, but I welcome any questions, and I think I will go stop the share and just go back to the regular screen.
I'll ask a question well, first a comment, Colin. So to me, telling your story and then seeing how you're now engaged and helping others makes you a hero. So thank you for what you're doing, because to survive 3 kinds of blood cancers like that, and then to say, I'm not just going to rest on my laurels, now I'm going to actually go out and help other people, that's huge. So thank you. Another question, though, is when our children were born, the hospitals would offer a free, sorry, not a free service, a paid service for you to be able to store cord blood.
Yep.
And we chose at the time, actually, because we were first-time home buyers, poor parents who just worried about putting food on the table. Have they made it easier for those donations to happen, so that, and can that kind of information, or can those stem cells be used for the people down the road?
Obviously, my focus has been more on the matched unrelated donors and signing up people and that. But yes, when you go to the same link that I've shared, blood.ca/Rotary, it'll tell you all about cord blood and how it can be done. It's a much smaller part of I hate to use the term, but the business of stem cells. The majority of the stem cells that are collected, and you have to get permission, are used for research. But they can be stored and can be used for other situations. And I looked at it this way: you start with the peripheral blood. It will deal with a lot of things. When you go to the blood that's collected, stem cells that are collected from your bone marrow, they're very often used for more intricate, that's not a very good medical term, but cancer or need. And so it's a lot of children receive these blood cells from bone marrow, and then it gets even more exclusive when it gets to the cord blood. So yes, there is information there. It's the Canadian Blood Service site overall is excellent, easy to navigate. Click on the button and you've got it in French, and it's very well done and answers a whole lot of questions like the one you're posing right now. So I don't know a whole lot about it. Just looking at that and reading about it has been helpful. One of the things that pops up with the cord blood is the cultural aspect. So I mentioned the need to recruit donors who are Black. Black African people, some of the cultures in that continent would not look kindly at cord blood donations, because I think if you were in Canada and you were from a particular culture, you may even send the placenta is shipped back to Africa to be buried. There's more to that story. So it's a huge field, and my take would be that it's much easier than before. Easier but there are only certain centers that do it. But I could, if you're interested, I could certainly let the club know where they are.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
It's not a question. Warren did this, the apheresis
Yep.
donation,
Oh, wow, great.
my husband, and he did it for several times.
You can?
Where- Yeah, and it was two different recipients actually, because he got the test for his friend. He passed through that one, and then they keep it on file if you agree.
Yep.
And so he was asked to do it a second time, but he's aged out of the ability to donate.
Yes.
At this, but so it is very important that people under, I think it's 70, you can't give blood anymore, if I remember correctly, but whatever the age is, it's very important. It is a young person's game, and men and women alike can do equal good with making the donation. But Warren was very sad when he got the letter saying, thank you for all your donations. However, you're old now, so stop it.
It's like what Al was saying, right?
Well, if I can comment on that, well, Warren's one of my heroes now, because doing that, I'm quite amazed actually that they were able to get a match between the friend and him in that manner, because as they say, it's pretty hard to make that match. I would, while my focus is stem cells, the need to give blood is hugely important, and plasma is very important. Plasma, for a cancer patient, a lot of the immunotherapies, the drugs are derived from plasma, so that's very important. I had to have whole blood transplants. No, had one transplant, whole blood transfusions along the path, as well as platelet infusions, because when the donor is found, the recipient and agrees finally to go ahead with that, there's a time clock that starts, and it's right down to the minute when you're going to get your stem cells. So the person, once the donor makes the donation, the patient, in my case, all cases, is you're put through a pretty difficult period of becoming quite unwell, because your immune system and your stem cells are wiped out, so you can't handle infections at all. And then, so it's important to go through with that when you do that. But anyway, all's well, and the importance of giving blood to other blood products can contribute to this too.
Colin, I can attest to the whole blood transfusions too, because when I was going through chemo, I had to have several whole blood transfusions as well, and I've always been grateful to blood donors for that.
We just as an aside, I'm going to pull a plug in for yet another thing that's going on in this world. So Manit wasn't able to travel up to North Bay to work with us on our swab-in last week. So a fellow by the name of Brandon Peacock, I can send you a link along, came up. And Brandon has a fascinating story. He's been working for Canadian Blood Services. I think he's 26 or 27 for about a year and a half. And he'd been on the stem cell file for all of 3 weeks. So perhaps I was helping him out more than he was helping me at times, but we were a good team. Brandon was shot in a drive-by shooting in Ottawa about 2.5 years ago. And somebody will qualify this, but I believe a male his size would have about 5 to 6 liters of blood. He lost 4 before he even hit the hospital. And so he's a miracle, a hero too. And the need for blood is a huge thing, that sort of thing. So anyway.
Thank you. So Colin, thank you so much for your presentation. If you want to send on everything to
Yep, happy to do that.
So she can disseminate it to rest, and Barb and I can make sure that we get things on social media. But thank you so much for this wonderful presentation.
It's my pleasure.
We have some other club business that we have to attend to. So if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome. But otherwise, if you have a busy schedule, we appreciate the time you've given us already.
I belong to 2, it was mentioned, this is my 4th Rotary Club, not because I got kicked out, but I moved around a little bit in the school business. And 2 were early morning clubs, Kingston Cataraqui and then Cornwall Sunrise. I used to do really well going to these things, but I'll tell you, one of the downsides, I guess it's sort of like deconditioning with all this treatment. I don't do mornings as well, so I might just beg off at this point, but it's nice to connect, and hopefully we'll see you along the path. And by the way, support global grant scholarships. It's a great way to see young people do well. Okay.
Thank you, Colin.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure we get to a good news round, so can we just bounce through things quickly? Jeff and Jamie, any updates? I know I just saw a great big amount of coming in from John. For,
Yeah, I've been paid this week, so I'm good. So it's, yeah, John brought in a bunch. Now I just gotta get the rest of you to bring in a bunch. And then we'll have our 62 to 80 sponsors for our advertising booklet. And then we're off and running. So we only have a couple of weeks to get this all done, so.
Yep.
You can download all the files off of your internet for anything you need. It's all there. And if you have any questions, you can give me a call or send me an email. I will answer maybe. So, yeah,
So how many have you got in so far?
I don't know, I didn't count. How many did we, John? Four. So I have 4 in so far, which is good. And they're paid. So that's all a step in the right direction. So Al, when you do your lakefront people there, like all 25 of them, we should be good.
Yeah, that'd be good start.
Before we apply from France or California, I'll let you know.
Yeah, so just gotta get it there in itself, so they're easy to sell, are they not, John?
Right?
So they're easy to sell.
Yeah, yeah, one of them was a pharmacy, one of the other pharmacies. So I got 2 for 1.
Yeah, there you go, see? Just get it there. Yes,
I'm not a club member guy.
but just, everything I looked at on my email had my name on it,
Okay.
because the original one had Al's name on it.
There's 2 names on it. I think yours is on one page. I think Al's was on the other. I think that was
Yeah.
the concern.
So just use
So,
my name on it.
I'll go through that one.
It should be on email, because when it went out, we wrote Joanne sent it, you sent it, somebody sent it.
Sydney is the one who sent the first one. Was there an update?
I haven't.
No, Cindy sent a second one with Al's name off of there.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. Did it only go to specific people?
No. I don't know.
Can you confirm?
Well, the problem is
Yeah.
Jamie doesn't have access to club owners, so if you wanted to go out to the club, whoever gets it has to then.
Agreed. No, that's fine. Yeah.
I was sent out, I've seen it.
Okay. All right. So we'll make sure they get it to everybody. Between Jeff and I. Okay.
One question, there's been a confusion. One of these gentlemen is saying we should be charging HST.
No,
The other one is we're saying we shouldn't be. What are we doing?
we don't have to charge GST or HST, whatever you call it, because we're making under $30,000. So that's, you don't have to collect HST if you're making under 30,000. So, and we're a nonprofit organization, so we don't have to collect it. If we do make over $30,000, then we have to start collecting HST. But then people that pay it, get it back anyway, we get it back, whatever, but then we have to start filing tax for it and all that stuff. So we're gonna try to stay underneath that radar, so we don't have to collect it.
Okay. So then, yeah, let's just say not, just blank, get rid of the confusion. Okay. All right, Peace Bowls, if anybody wants to, I'm not gonna give the presentation, because again, we're tight on time. I have a fully revised, I can send this out to everybody. I'll do that later today, about all the information, about exactly what I'm using Jamie's poll as our template here, and kind of it's a walkthrough of the entire project. I have a few artists that already are excited about jumping on board. Ron, most of you know Ron, and a few others would love to be able to be involved with this. So, yep, she just got back to me yesterday. She's like super excited, and also reaching out to April Paul. I don't know if anybody knows her.
So when do you want to get started on painting these poles? Because they have to be.
As soon as the weather doesn't do this.
They have to be dressed, but they're
Agreed.
still the rough cuts, so they
Yep.
have to be dressed. So
Okay.
if I know when you're gonna do them, I'll bring them to the shop, I'll get them all dressed up nice.
Okay.
So they're ready for the artist.
Quick question, where do they have to go, Jeff? Where do the poles have to go next?
Well, as soon as they're gonna go, as soon as we figure out where we're gonna go, they're gonna come to my place. I'm gonna dress them, get them all nice and smooth. And then they'll go to the artist. I'll deliver them to wherever they have to go.
Okay, you let me know when you're doing that, please.
Between us. So, and I'm working with the Idea Labs about getting it in, and they're connecting with operations, and so we're moving forward on getting systems with locates and all that stuff. So we're actually in a really good position right now. So, all right, Lefroy Family Fun Day. So we had a meeting last night with Manny and Ali and a few committee members. So this is an event that's going to be on August 12th in Lefroy at the Legion. Is right now, unless something happens, the Legion is where we're decided to host it. We're just working at the parking situation right now. But this is going to be mostly focused for kids, and it's not a fundraiser. This is going to be, we're trying to keep things very affordable and a celebration, kind of like what we used to do with the fun runs and things like that. So we will need volunteers for that one, but we're waiting until we have everything locked down for that one because we want to make sure we have representation from the entire club if possible at different times and shifts. So we'll have that. Yes, Mel.
Can I get a flyer for that? So I
But
can
once
put-
again, we're still working.
Yeah,
We will,
put
we
it
will,
for,
yeah.
We can advertise it at the Colin Beach Party.
Yep.
Because we're giving out loot bags.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, we'll make sure we get that once.
Got a question here.
Yes,
I asked Sydney if Sydney said she'd like to do whatever, fun flyers or posters.
touch base.
Is this replacing our old thing? Or is this something-
No.
It's a one-off, so
Yeah.
not yet.
Yeah,
I
they-
suspect we'll go back to ours, like the big one eventually.
So this isn't ours, per se,
It's hard.
it's a partnership. So Manny and Ellie, who run PharmaSave in Lefroy, they really wanting this to stay a Lefroy-based event. So us being involved with it works to our favor and theirs. But is that going to be the only one in Innisfil? No. I believe that eventually we'll have the fun run back and things like that. Debbie chose, because of everything else going on right now, that she's going to delay on doing the fun run in this coming term. So the hope is that we would actually have the fun run back next year.
No, the Family Fun Day was a day where we had like services and that.
Yep.
all that, right? So it's a totally different thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah. I haven't yet seen one, so as I say, it all happened before I joined. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing these things. But,
And the best part is the Lions, the Legion and Rotary will be together promoting it,
And the library as well.
and the library. So that's great.
I don't know if our guests will join us back or other people will join us back, but okay, any other questions on that? Once again, once we've locked down everything, and we're still having meetings about it, we'll get information out to everybody. But again, August 12th, we have some time. Onion Fest will be first, that's in May. June? Oh, I'm sorry, yes, you're right, sorry, that's my calendar now. That one is, we certainly need to figure what exactly we're doing. Because there's been some debate now. The board didn't want to do sales. But we kind of talked at the last meeting that we think that we should do sales. So I think we need to, if we handle both ticket sale or alcohol sales and serving, we need to have volunteers. And if we have to reach out to the clubs, the Barry, the Rotaractors, then we need to know that. But we need to decide as a group how much we want to do.
It all has to have smart serve also,
Agreed.
even the sellers.
That's right. Yeah, they're very draconian on the rules, but there's good reasons for that.
That's alcohol and gaming.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
not just-
Yeah, no, it's all good reasons, but yeah, people can't get away with the, I'll just be a bar back or anything like that anymore. No, you have to be smart. So, all right, so once we have, I'll start, I was gonna bring one today, but last night, and but I'll start bringing forms next week so we can actually have a physical sign up sheet, because that's one thing I think that people would love to see. We have the online ones and sometimes you get forgotten about. Not everybody uses Club Runner to the same as other people, but
I have a question.
yes, sir.
Did you say the board did not want to collect the money?
We did, yeah, the board decided we didn't think doing sales worked for us.
So what happened with that decision?
There's a lot of cash to be handled.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yes, there was a concern about liability.
Is that still being looked at or?
I think it has to go back. We have
The
to
issue
talk about it.
the issue is that we hand out the alcohol, but we have no control over how old the people are buying the tickets.
Yeah.
I
And
thought.
the parties still do though.
Yeah, but I thought that it was the other way. I thought that we wanted to sell the tickets because
That's what
the
I'm saying.
liability is full circle.
That's what.
That was as opposed to what.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It was the handling of the cash. I think that was the
Oh,
big concern.
no, it was the fact that I was at that meeting. The fact was that if I'm selling the tickets and I sell them to everybody, like we saw last year, where anybody who could tie up their own shoes got player tickets,
Mhm.
then we have no right to question it because they just sold it.
That's right, the ticket's already sold.
The tickets
No,
got
I
sold
think
by
at
the same
that
line.
point, Barb, you'd already had to step off from that meeting because you were virtual. You had a DG meeting right afterwards. I think you'd already left by the time we came to that point, and there was some
I was
debate.
okay, I was there, but okay.
No, you were in line.
No, I was there though. I was
I
at the
know.
meeting.
Okay, yeah, but
So, look at this, my question is, if the board said no, why is it still being pursued? That's kind of difficult.
oh, okay, that's a really fair point.
Yeah,
So, okay,
so what's the answer?
at this point, I would say then we're not.
Whose insurance covers it?
Ice Corps.
Ice Corp names us?
They controlled, they had the insurance last year.
No,
sorry,
we
sorry,
have,
sorry.
we have our own insurance. We put on, Joanne tells the insurance company every time we do an event.
Okay.
So I think we need a little more detail, but the reality is, I know last year working there,
Yeah.
that we tried to turn people away and they had tickets and Ice Corp guys came over and said, no, you have to, they bought their tickets.
I wasn't,
somebody bought them.
I wasn't aware that happened.
Ice Corps.
I would have been very concerned if I knew that.
Yeah, no,
No, you
Ice
can't.
Corp can't say that.
Yeah,
The
they can't.
person handing out the alcohol can.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
a
I know.
kid walks up to you with a ticket, we have every right, as part
Yeah.
of our smart serve, because you actually can have your smart serve taken away and be arrested
I
for serving a
I
minor.
understand that, but it makes it seamless. You better clarify the vote then, because I heard it totally different.
It does change it, but
Yeah.
at the bar, if you're serving, you still have the
You
right
still
to
have.
turn that person away.
Al, you were there, and Jeff, that was,
I've turned a couple of people
We
away.
turn people away.
no, I'm not talking, at the board meeting.
Yes.
At the board meeting, we decided at that time, we were just gonna handle the provisioning of the alcohol, not the sales.
Yeah, because
That's
that's the money
correct.
factor, the liability of the money.
Okay, so just to concur, that's what was discussed. So if
And-
there's concerns, then yes, please bring it back to us and we can discuss it at the board, but right now, that's the point. Back, and thank you, Ken, for that parliamentary
Yeah, it
comment.
kind of clarifies.
No, that's fair, that's fair, thank you.
But the bottom line is, if somebody from Innisfil is leaving a park and they're on the way home, they get involved in an accident and they're impaired, and it's a bad accident. No matter what, Rotary Club is gonna be involved in any civil or anything's going on there. That happened in Toronto or in Derry at the Queen's Hotel. And the Queen's Hotel was sued. It was a big investigation. So we can't get out of being involved in this. And in my own feeling, and you know, my problem is I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink for 35 years. I don't like Rotary to get involved in any sales of alcohol. I never have. And one day it's gonna come back to bite us. And
But hopefully our insurance will certainly cover those aspects. We'll make sure that we'll have a better contract.
But
The
it
contract
never,
last time was basically a cocktail napkin contract.
it never runs smoothly. There's always a problem.
Yeah, okay.
There's always a problem.
All right, thank you. But let's jump into, we only have 5 minutes left. Let's do a quick good news round. We can get through it. 5 minutes. Al, give us some good news.
Good
Good boy.
news. It stopped raining.
For a second.
Good news. I started a new job 2.5 months ago. It's going well. In 2 more weeks, they're stuck with me, right? Through my probations.
Where are you now?
I'm doing HR for Honeyfield Communities, a builder in Bear.
Oh,
So it's back into the private sector.
Grandson coming, number 2 coming in July.
Awesome.
Happy to be here and yeah, happy to be.
I'm happy to be here and I got my mother. I have to
Yes.
for the next 2 weeks.
I'll be here too, and just, again, lots of package.
I'm happy to be here. I got my golf tournament all set up. It's June 9th, on a Friday afternoon, so come on in, enjoy your afternoon.
My good news is basically the rain stopped. I just-
Friday, I had eye surgery and I'm still recovering, but I think it went well. And I had forgotten how bright and clear the world is. Good news is I don't kill anybody in my house.
Including me.
My good news is, basically, I'm getting.
She deleted it.
On the other side of it, so.
My good news is today registration is open for the Y. We're over $1,000 in the first weekend. And the fun run for Innisfil is April 29th from 10 to 1. I'd love to see all of you there. And if you register this week with a $50 donation, or gets me to pledge you $50, you get a t-shirt. So, yeah. Happy to be here.
Is it a fun walk as well as a fun run?
Yes.
I can't run anymore.
And barbecue, so like.
Yeah.
How about mobility scooter? Mobility
You sure can, as long as you have a horn.
We'll put a wagon on our scooters and you pick up the people who are dragging. So, our good news for me is actually close to what Ann was saying about eye surgery. I went for eye tests and I need bifocals now. So yes, getting old, yeah, they're more expensive than I'm used to getting the glasses, but I'll should be getting those next week. So it's been hard to see lately because my glasses all got scratched up. So, but yeah, this has been great. Jen, do you have anything for Learning Corner?
Yeah, actually, it's steal my thunder a little bit.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Rotary's International New Month theme for equals maternal and child health. Every day, mothers list their mothers giving birth and millions of children die each year from treatable preventable causes. Rotary's projects ensure sustainability by empowering the local community to take ownership of healthcare training programs. Maternal and child care is also recognized as one of Rotary's 6 areas of focus. So think about what it is that we do to help our families, our mothers, and our children. And stem cells are actually part of that as well. So that's really kind of cool.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Anybody needs any forms for our advertisement booklet?
Yep.
I have forms here, so.
Also, Janet delivered business cards today, so if anybody wants to take any, so that you've got them when you talk to vendors, that's great.
Thanks,
You
Janet.
can write your name on the back and your phone number so that everybody, it's our general one. If you are looking for individual ones that are customized, I can get them done, 2 people on behalf of them so that they have their names on them. So I'll get them done for next week.
Just approximate cost, you said was around $60 for 500.
50/50. That's kind of.
830.
The one right after me.
Nope. All right, we are at 1 minute too, so maybe this one on time. If anybody is looking for information, because I did, so one last thing, folks, I did a meeting with Debbie yesterday, talking about SWAT. One of the things is people wanting to know what is going on. So Joanne's been excellent lately about posting our coming events at the bottom of the agendas. So so follow that. Thank you, and everybody have a great week.